right?
Yes.
Okay, so the client scripts is done. Is it because business rules are here? So client scripts, demo, UI policies, whole client side is the first topics are client side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm on the client side. Yeah, not business rules.
Okay. Business rules we have done that. Okay. So today, what we'll be doing is, let's see the update set migration, because we have created the update set in the last few sessions. The first session we have seen how to create update set, but we didn't move that update set or migrate that update set to other instance. So today, let's see that. And here in the scripting, so once if you all go through this particular scripting part, then we'll just have I'll just provide you assignment so that you can actually practice those examples, those use cases, so that we can actually go and work on the projects.
Like there are some assignment scenarios where we usually get directly from the client. So we have those kind of assignments. So if you are able to do that, it will be easy for you in the projects while doing them, because it will be mostly similar. So
Yeah. So let me just. So in the update sets, let me just go ahead and create one update set, local update sets, and by clicking new. So always our update set names should start with the story number, the short description of that, and then your name. So you can, once if you click on submit and make it current, then if we refresh the home page, so here this update set will be there. In order to open your update set, you can just click over here. So the first state when you create your update set is in progress. Once if you complete the updates which you want to capture, then you'll move this state to complete. And the updates which you have captured, you don't want this to be moved to the other instance or to be migrated to other instance, then you'll make the state to ignore. So let me just capture one update here, creating a field on an incident form. Let's take that update. So yeah, can anyone say like how do you actually create, what are the ways to create a field? Ways to create a field.
Configure dictionary or list.
Mhm. From the form, what are the steps to be followed?
Right click and from config,
Context
yeah,
menu. Yeah.
Mm.
context menu to configure
Mm.
list. Sure.
Related list?
List design.
Okay. So now let me create a field over here. Yeah, so let me create a string type of field just to capture an update. And now let me name it as something like address. And then let me just save this for now. So if I just go here, I'll find a field called address. Now if I just refresh this, so this is my update. Now what I'll be doing is I'll make the state to complete and save this update set. So before that, whenever you are given an instance in a project, then you'll be always developing everything in the dev instance. So for this, in the project, you'll also have an access for the production instance. So the backend, how it will be is, so we'll have update sources. So if you see here under system update sets, you have update sources. So here they'll be establishing the connection between the dev instance and the production instance. So I'll just mention it as production, or let's take a test instance for now. And here the type is test. Here you have to provide the URL. So for now, we'll just go with the URL of my another instance. So here, if you go to your profile, then you'll have manage instance password, from where you'll get the URL. I'll just copy this URL, and here we'll be pasting the URL, and then the username and password of this instance. Username and then the password. And password. Once if I save this record, so connection is okay. Let me test the connection. However, partner instance major. Okay, there is this instance is in Xanadu version and this is in Washington. So that's why the connection is okay, however, but there are some patch fixes to be done. For now, what we'll be doing is we'll be going into this instance, and here we'll have retrieved update sets. Now, from your instance, you have to click on retrieve completed update sets. Once if you click on this, then all the update sets which you have made to complete state, then those update sets will be, so if you see here, I have this update set. Okay, let me just go here and check under the retrieved update sets. No, this is not the one. Just the instance. I guess this from here instance we got this. Let me just check. Our story. Yeah, this is our what can be done is Now from here also we need to create one update sources. You have to click on new, and this will be the type development dev, and you have to provide this instance and password. So in the both instances, you have to mention the same. So username, password. And test the connection. Now here, if you click on retrieved complete update set, so from the that dev instance, you'll be getting the update sets which are completed. So this is our update set. Yeah. Okay. Let me open this. Let me open incident form as well before previewing it. So here, this is our update set. So basically, whenever you move your update sets, this update set will preview all your updates. Means it will check the updates. So if it checks the updates, and it might throw some errors like this, like first we need to check these errors, like what type of error is this. So here if we see, once if we compare with the local one, local is like whatever is there in the current system. And yeah, so on opening this, these are the three update sets. Now this is just the UI section, it's just saying, so we can accept this remote update. Now, after accepting the update, only when you commit this update set, then the changes will be made. So as of now, we don't see the address field here. So once if I commit the update set, so close. And now if I reload this page, then I see this address field. So the from the development instance into the production instance, the changes were reflected. Is it clear? Any questions up to this?
So how do you roll back if the client doesn't want to the update all of us, right?
Okay.
How do we go back again?
So yeah. So once if the changes are done, but you don't want to make those changes, then you have an option called back out. So once if I click this back out, whatever changes you have made will be retrieved back. So now if I go to the incident form and reload this, now this address field got deleted. So whatever updates you have done into that update set, then it will back out and that update set will not be available again.
Manaswin, I have a question. So, like after creating an update set, we have pushed the code to, I mean, committed the code to production environment, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so after committing the to the production environment, also we can do the backout, right?
So let me open the retrieved update set here. So So here will not have, once we have committed the update set, then we can't retrieve in the production. If you want those changes to happen, then again you have to create an update set in your development instance, and whatever changes you want to retrieve it, then you have to again make those changes in the production and capture them. You have to move to the production, and then if you commit that, then all this will be gets updated from the latest update set. Once you commit, you can't back out. But in the development, you can do that once your update set is in the state called completed.
Okay, got it. So when we are in the local or dev instance, so whatever the changes we are making are visible because we are doing under the update sets. It is visible for us only, right?
It's not like that. It works for the whole instance, but the capturing will be in that update set. Because we have to move this update set to the production, only these updates. Because some others might capture some other updates, they might be working on other things. So whatever
I'm
we
sorry.
do will be
I'll clear maybe my question was not clear. So if I am creating an update set and doing my changes in that dev instance with my update set, so that update set changes, whatever I'm doing in my update set won't be visible to others, right?
it will be visible.
Oh, okay.
It will be.
Okay. So what is the, okay. So
I think,
it is
yeah,
not an personal development space or something like that? Until and unless, I thought like until and unless we commit the code, then only it is visible to others. Otherwise, it is our own instance or developer mode or something like that.
So this, suppose if you are working on a project, okay, so that instance will be available for all the developers where they'll be working on the same instance. So the update sets which you create or you make, suppose you have created one field on incident, it will be visible to everyone because you're under same URL, you're under same instance, it will be visible.
but
Thank
you're in
you.
different update set, right? So why it is visible to others? Because you're creating your
Update
own
set is
update
just
set.
to capture your updates. That's it. Whatever work you are doing, it just captures that. That's it. So if you don't create an update set and if you work, also it's the same thing. But you can't
So,
move whole dev instance to the production. It's the cloning. Every time cloning is not the good process or the best practice. That's why we capture everything in the update sets. That's it.
Right, Manaswini. So I'm not talking about the cloning, the dev instance or
Yeah,
other
yeah,
instance.
yeah, yeah.
So, like for example, we are three in a group of team,
Yeah.
and the three of us are creating the instances like um, my own update set or something like that. I'm creating one and the other two are creating their own instances or their own update sets. So we don't have any connection between those update sets. How it will be reflected in the instance as long as I'm not pushing it. So will that be visible?
In the development instance or in the production you're talking about?
We
So
all
I'm
work
talking
on
about
single
the
instance. We are the users. We are the users in for single instance. We all work in single instance. So it will reflect. We don't work on different instances. All
Then
the
it
users
will
will work
reflect.
going to work on single instances. We are the users of that instance.
Yeah, but my question would be here, like, what would be the difference when we are using the update sets and without update sets when I am developing?
Yeah, so in order to migrate your updates to the production, we can't capture them. So somewhere we have to capture all those updates, whatever you have done. In order to do that, we are creating the update set. That's it. In order to capture all your updates, your development, everything.
Okay. Okay.
We have
So,
three
like,
instances: dev, test, and production. To move from dev to test and test to production. We are creating the update sets and capturing our work or our development, and then we are moving them to test
Mm.
and production.
Yeah,
Yes.
usually
Yeah.
in the development environment we do have like a personal space or personal local instance, we call it as local instance or local development space, where when we do the updates or when we do the development from our end, until and unless the code not pushes into the regular instance, that won't be visible to others. So I thought in the same way. I
No,
got
no, no. Not
clarification
that.
now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarita, I think in GitHub and every .NET, we do like that. But whereas in ServiceNow, they just capture the updates, what we have done into the update set, and they move it to other instances, to the upper instances like test and prod. But it's technically not saying that it is not visible to others. Here, it everything visible to everyone.
Yeah, I got this. I got it. Like I thought the same. Like I was working on Java and
Yeah.
.NET, so I thought we do have like separate instances when we are creating, right? So I thought in the same.
Even I had the same confusion in the start.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. So is it clear now? Any questions? Can we go ahead?
Yeah, Manaswini, I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So today our next topic, which is the new topic called as ATF. So let me just share my screen again for that. One minute. Yes. Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
So in ServiceNow also, we have a testing framework. We call it as ATF, which is Automated Test Framework. So what does this do is, this is basically an application in ServiceNow where it is used to automate the testing of applications, the customizations and configurations. So whatever we do, so suppose I have created an incident form and saving a record. So is that particular functionality is working or not? So like that, some such functionalities, in order to test that, we use this automated test framework. So under this particular ATF, we can test several applications in our service. Now let me just note them for you. So we can test the service catalogs, which we can submit, which will be submitting from service portal, and then the forms. So whatever in the incident form or the problem for form or any custom forms which you create, in order to validate those forms, we'll be using this application. And we have some custom UI and the service catalogs and list and related list data. Coming to the integrations, REST integration and emails, reporting, and some responsive dashboards. So all this, in order to test all these functionalities in the ServiceNow, we use this framework. So under this, if you see, we have several modules. So if the first module here we use mostly is the tests, and then the suites. So under this only we'll be having all our testings and all. So what does a test mean is, so if you want to test any application or anything, you'll be first clicking on new. So let me just save this with another name. test underscore 3 something. So this particular ATF test is an automated test framework where here you'll be adding your steps, like ordered sequence of steps in ServiceNow. Like you'll be defining several actions, what action you have to do. Let's take a scenario and then test that scenario. So this is my incident. So in order to create an incident, what am I doing? First, I'm clicking on create new and giving a caller, let's say able tutor. And then we are filling the mandatory fields. So here the mandatory fields are caller and short description. After that, we'll be submitting the record. So in order to do this scenario or test this particular scenario, how the basic steps, what we do, will be mentioning here in order to test. So first step, what we add is, so whenever you do a test, you should not test as an admin, because for an application, there are specific users or the end users who will use that. Coming to this incident, we'll have a user with an ITIL role. So first, in any testing, you have to create a user. That is the first step which we have to do in our process. So if you see here, in under all steps, we have, as I mentioned, we can test all this. So the application navigator, custom UI, emails, forms. So whatever we want, we can select that from here. Now what I'll do is I'll first create an user. So here the execution order is first this step should execute. So here I'll be creating a user called ATF test user. And then if you want to give any fields or any values to the user record, you can give. Else the main part of this is ITIL, because we are testing for the incident. So here I have checked the box called impersonate user. So what does this do is this will impersonate this user and it will start testing. I have created the user. Next step is to create a record. So we have to check for create a record or submit a form. Under form, we have to open a new form, which is step 2. So we have to open a form of incident. So incident. And if you have any particular view, we can select that view, else we need not select that. After opening a form, we need to set a field values. We have opened a form, we need to set mandatory field values. So here we have that set field values, where we'll be setting that. So the mandatory fields, test and caller, you can give any caller. And if you want to fill any other fields also, you can fill like category, must be, inquiry. So if you give the subcategory also in this step, it will not take, because subcategory is depending on the category. Let me just show you that as well. We'll get some error. So if I submit, we'll get an error saying that some dependencies on the other fields being set. So that's why we should not give subcategory and category in one step. Once if we give category, again you have to go to the another step. You have to click on add test step, and again you have to set a field value for subcategory. So directly you can give the subcategory as something like this and then submit. So we have opened a form and set the values for the fields. Now we need to submit the form. So here if you see, UI, click a UI action. So whenever you create a form, whenever you create a record, you have a UI action called submit. So the same thing you have to do here. Click a UI action. Next. And then which UI action is submit. Select this, and then assert type is where like if you see here, select one of the assert types. None, click a UI action and continue without making an assertion. Form submitted to the server, where this will click a UI action and it will tell us that form was submitted to the server. So like that, these are some assert types. For now, we'll take this assert type. Once it submits the form, it will show this result. Now, so if you see here, run test, where it will run the test in the client side. So it will take us to the new page where we can see how the test is happening. So the execution frame will show what is happening. So now it has opened the form and it is now setting the field values like color, category, and short description. And then the form got submitted. Once if you see here, okay, so some few steps were failed. So where it got failed, you can check. So unable to set the field called subcategory, because here the category is inquiry. So related to inquiry, so whenever we select inquiry, we have antivirus, email, and this. So now let's go to our test. Again, go back to the data history. It's my test. This test. We have to change our subcategory fields. Instead of CPU, we need to give email because it didn't find the CPU one. So email and then update. Again, let's run the test. So here under in the execution frame, it is adding the able tutor, short description, category, subcategory, and then it's submitted. Now let's go still here. Yeah. Now it's 100%. So this is the simplest test which I have shown you, but we'll have some more testing steps, like in order to validate whole life cycle of an incident. So once if I give this able tutor, and now if I just save the form, and then now the state is in new, it will validate that the state is in new or not. And after that, suppose let's say now we are assigning this to an assignment group and then saving the record. On saving the record, we have to give some assigned to a user. Now this incident state should move to in progress. Did it move or not? In order to check the life cycle of the incident, we can write few steps and add few steps. So on clicking add step, you can validate. So field values validation, field state validation, and you can add attachments. So like this, we have several things in this testing thing. And this is this clear up to here? Is it clear? The testing framework?
Yes, Manaswini.
Yes.
Manashwini, will it create a new record in the instant table or not?
No, so what happens is this particular test, whatever it does, it will just create, yeah, I'll show that as well.
It will create the record and it will roll back at the end.
Yeah, it will roll back. So the user also, whatever we create a user, it will again roll back. The steps, every step will be roll back.
Okay, got it.
But it's using a different user, right? So it's created a user, and while
Yes.
testing, it's using different user.
Yes. Yes.
Then why we create a new user?
Because we'll be testing with the user who has that roles. We can't test because we have to test this as an end user, because the end user will have limited access. So those access will be given to a test user in order to test a whole functionality. We can't go and test as an admin, because as an admin we'll have all the access, but for the end users we'll give limited access. In order to test that, we'll be using this create user and impersonate that user. Is it clear?
Yeah, but a little confused for me. So it's
Mm.
creating the user,
Yeah.
but it's not using that same user. It's using different user to test
Under
it.
the caller.
Yes.
So under the caller, what I have done is I have set some field values. If you just see here, so let me just show that. So here I'm setting the caller as able tutor and category as this. So here I gave the predefined values.
Okay.
That's why it didn't take.
Okay.
Now in this testing, we have the parameterized testing, the next type of testing. So if you see here, we have a checkbox called enable parameterized testing. So what does this do is, so once if I check, let me just go back and create. Yeah, this is the result form. Let me just show this as well. So here it will give us the screenshots of each and every step which it has done, whole result of our test. You can download and view that result as well. So each and every step will be attached here in the result. So let me just go back to this. So tests, if I create a new test, so if I check this enable parameterized testing, here we'll have some two types of parameters. So one is add exclusive parameters, add shared parameters. So this parameterized testing will take your values where however you will be creating the fields and on the incident form. In the same way, you'll be creating the fields here. So whatever fields we have, if you want to test the subcategory, category, then here you'll be creating the parameters and giving the same backend values here. And then you'll be testing those functionalities. This parameterized testing is where you'll be giving the values, and so the best let me just show this best step here. I mean, so let me just add the shared parameter. Suppose let's say string and the short description. So this So on the incident form, let's say caller, and this is test. Now, if I say whenever my category is software and the subcategory is email, then this assignment group should be assigned to software. Or if I say whenever like this, I have added this previously, so it will be visible. So assignment group got auto populated. Now, if I say whenever the category is hardware and the subcategory is CPU, it should assign to hardware group. So in order to achieve this, we have a functionality in ServiceNow called assignment rules. Assignment rules. If you see under system policy, we have assignment. So what we'll be doing is we'll be clicking on new, and then incident hardware assignment group. So on the incident table, whenever the category is hardware and the subcategory is CPU, then assign to, if you see here, we'll be giving the group. Now let me refresh the form, reload it, and then hardware and CPU. Let me just add something here. So we wrote an assignment rule. So according to the assignment rule, the assignment group got achieved. I mean, it got populated. So in order to test whole functionality, we are using a testing framework in which, let me just go back to the my test. Here. So here we need to add the subcategory, category, and the assignment groups. Where so under the parameterized test results are where whenever we test we'll be getting that, and then test steps, add a test step. So again you'll be creating a user, next first name, ETF test, and you'll be providing him the role ITIL, submit the record. And the next step is you have to set the field values. Form, open a new form, next. So here on the incident, set the field values. Now here, if you see here, we see a data pill icon. Once you click here, you'll be getting the parameters from where you can just select those parameters. So whatever values you provide in the short description, those values, it will be using those values. And then caller for the category also the same way. Category, again the data pill icon. From the data pill icon, we have already defined the category. Then from there, it will take the values. Again, subcategory, data pill icon. From the subcategory, it will take the values. And then the assignment group will be auto-populated. So you need not check that. Okay, the dependency. So subcategory under next step. Set field values for subcategory. The data bill icon, subcategory. Yes. Now what we'll be doing is add a test step. Field values validation. Here the assignment group is this or not. So whatever parameter we have passed, it should check, it should validate the assignment group got assigned correctly or not. Now I'll click on submit. So before that, setting the field values, we are checking for the field values. But here, first what are we doing? We are saving the form. So before saving the form, will not get this assignment group. Only once if you save the form, only then we'll be getting that. So here we have to add a step after the set field values. Click a UI action or submit a form. So this should be inserted after fourth step. So after that, it will check for the field value validation. And then here, if you see here, test run data sets. So once if you click new, because we are selecting the parameters, but we are not mentioning any values. Now category is software and subcategory is email. Then it should be software and test. This is the first data set which I gave. Again, you can create the other data set. You have to add some other subcategory and category. So let me just show that as well. Category, subcategory. Here, let me add another category called hardware. And then the backend, hardware. This one. And under subcategory, we have CPU. Let me save this. Now, if I go back to here, new, now hardware, and then the CPU assignment group must be hardware. Okay, we have to add another group as well. Let's go back to this assignment group. Under this, name is hardware or now you'll get that. So these are the run data sets too. So here we are adding the steps, the first 6 steps. For these 6 steps, it will test these two set of with these two set of values. And these are the parameters which we have created. So whenever you check this particular box, first you need to create the parameters from which table you are testing. Add exclusive parameters is where this parameters will be only for this particular test. Add shared parameters whenever you create a new test from here, then it will take all these parameters and it will be included in that particular test. And test run datasets where you'll be creating set of use cases to test. And these are the test steps. Now, if I click run test and go to this framework, if you just check here, so here the step which got executing the UI step, if you just see here, that was go to result. It's testing again. The other set of tests, let us check that. Tutor test 2, it's taking hardware. Okay. The first test is done. It is testing the second data set. And now 2 were done. Now if I go and reload the page. So it didn't find the save button. Let me just go back. So under the test. So here this step, it didn't find the save button because it is not on the form. So let's change this to the other step. Add test step. This should be inserted after setting the field values. The test step. So our test step would be submitting the form after set field values. Right. Assert type and submit. Now this UI action, this step is not required anymore. Now let's run the test again. This is the framework. Is it clear? I mean, the parameterized testing, the difference between the regular test and the parameterized test. Any questions here? It is taking the second data set. It is testing the second test too and submitting the form. Now if we go back, it got failed. So where it got failed, let's check. So unable to run the field value validation because a valid form must be open. Okay. So on submitting the form, what it is happening is it is going back to the previous page. So it can't access this particular page. So that's why it gave us that error. So, and then here it's the same error. So now we have to either change our step over there, the field validation. Now again, the second test got started. Yeah, once it's done. So on clicking this go to result, you'll be able to see our uh, records or our test results, which we see here, and the test log. And then let me just show the screenshots as well. Back to the result. So here, these are the test results. So if I open this, this is the result, and these are the two steps which it got run. So here, this step results will be either success or failure, and we also will also have some other states. The status called as waiting. Waiting is where it has to run yet, and the other state is called running, which it is currently executing, and skipped, which was not run, and error is where error or the failure, it was failure is completely fail, where some step which is not successful. Error was not completed due to any error during the execution, and the last status would be cancelled, which is not executed due to some user or due to some roles or some access. So these are the some status results which we get generally. Is it clear up to this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Manaswini.
So I'll share one playlist for this, where they have gone through the service catalog testing and record producer testing as well. So these two testings are also provided in that playlist. And I'll share my screen again. Let me show a document over here. So under learn, we have the courses. So under the courses, we also have this automated test framework, the ATF, yes. So if we go to this particular, see this course. We have all the exercises as well. Like, what is this automated test framework? What are tests? How do you enable and run the tests? How do you view the test and test steps results? The example over here. And we also have the variables. Variables are like whatever we have used in right now, the parameterized these variables. Let me just go back.
Actually, yeah, let me give you like couple of use case scenarios where you use ATF in the real time. So the first scenario is once you develop any story, so some of the clients they'll make ATF as mandatory, or if there is any existing development like complete end-to-end incident management, change management, if they have developed everything, if they have implemented complete ITSM module, so you will be assigned as an QA. So where you test the story, and if it is working fine, you will come and you will create a test script and you will put it in the test suite. So once you have all the test suites, at the end of the release, once you migrate everything, once you are migrate all development stuff to the test instance, you will also migrate your update sets and you will run everything in test instance to make sure all your functionality is working as expected without fail. And this ATF, you won't run it in production because it will trigger emails if you create an incident. So that function that shouldn't be happen in production. So that's why the best practice is always execute them in sub-production instances. And the second scenario is this is during upgrades. So once you upgrade your instance from Vancouver to Washington or Washington to Zyandu, whichever the new version is, so you will have the existing functionality. So if you want to validate that end to end, like right from the incident form, right from the fields, assignment rules, catalog items, everything which are part of the previous release, previous version. So you can able to test them using ATF. So nowadays, ATF is on boom because it also got headless browser. Which means if you run currently, you should be on the same browser page until the test finishes.
Yeah,
This one, this is called client test runner. So nowadays, it has been upgraded to headless browser where
I'll
you
show
deploy a server,
you.
and in that server you can able to run it. So without opening that Chrome. So this is one of the best use case to run all the scenarios of the ATF. Like if you have like 100 to 200 tests, ATF tests, and you don't want to be in front of the Chrome window, so you can do this cloud runner. So this has been came in last couple of years ago. So before that, when I was working on the ATF, I used to put that Chrome window open all the night to execute end-to-end functionalities. So yeah, these are the three scenarios for ATF.
Yeah, here we find the test suites here. Just, yeah. Just open this as well.
Before that, I have a question, Manaswini.
Yeah.
So, like once we have done our like any development or any chunk of development, so do we have the provision to test our build or test our like the changes what we have done?
Yeah, using ATF, you can actually test that.
Okay, so it is not the ATF is not for the end users, so we can also use in our instance as well.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. And test suites are like you'll have several tests together. So here, let me just save this one. So if you have several tests, I mean, so this is one test record. Again, if I create another test record with several steps, so these are my 5 steps. In another test, I have 5 steps. So if I want to merge these 2 steps, I'll be creating a test suite under which I'll be adding those 2 tests under this. We can run whole suite at a time. Is it clear what is test suite?
Okay, can we move on to the REST API part?
Yes. Okay.
And have you moved updates set to other instance?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Cool.
So in ServiceNow, we have two types of integrations. One is inbound integration, inbound and outbound. Let me just tell this first. So in ServiceNow, we have two types of web services. We call them as web services. The first one is inbound and the second one is outbound. So inbound is where whenever you get an email from the third party or whenever you get from the third party into the ServiceNow. So this is called inbound. Outbound, you are sending an email or you are sending the data. You are sending the data from ServiceNow to the third party. It is called outbound. So we have under inbound, we have seen this inbound email action. So when we'll be creating a record whenever we receive an email. So under outbound, today we'll be seeing the REST message. So under outbound, we have REST message. If I go here, let me just click on new. Test. And here you need to provide the endpoint. Let's say we are uh, doing this scenario for ServiceNow to ServiceNow. Now this instance to the other instance. So here, whenever I create a record or whenever I insert a record in this particular instance, then it should also insert a record with the same values into my other instance, which is this one. Okay, let's say this is my endpoint. I'll just copy this. Sorry. Let me just copy and paste. So endpoint is where you'll be providing the URL here. And in this REST message, we have two types of authentications. Two types of authentication. So the first type of authentication is called basic authentication. In this basic authentication, you'll just provide the username and password of the third party application. Okay, in order to log in that application, what is the username and password? So that particular information is the basic authentication. We have the next type of authentication, which is called OAuth. So OAuth 2.0 is also there. So OAuth is where here you will be getting the client ID and the client secret. So once these two will be generated by the third party application. So whatever it may be the third party, they'll provide us the client ID and client secret. So with these client ID and client secret, we'll get a refresh token. With this refresh token, again, this refresh token is will be what I'm about to tell is like let's say client ID and client secret are given and this refresh token is generated and it will have some lifespan, let's say 30 days. After 30 days, again this refresh token is to be generated. So the more security, in order to have more security in the data or in the process, we use OAuth because every 30 days this refresh token will be changed and the client ID and client secret will be only provided to the user who are working on that or the endpoint. So now here we are ServiceNow. So for the ServiceNow, they'll provide the client ID and client secret. But coming to the basic authentication, there is no such thing. They'll just give us the username and password. So there won't be again no change in these two values. So the more secured one is called OAuth. So if we see here the authentication type, this basic authentication, OAuth 2.0. So for the basic authentication, you have to create a profile wherein you'll be providing the username and the password. So username and the password. Let's say this one. So now I have to give the name. Let me just change the name. So the authentication type is basic, and here this is my profile. And we have a checkbox called use mutual authentication. So from ServiceNow and the other endpoint, if you want mutual authentication, you'll be checking this box. And again, that profile you have to submit here. And then in
What is
REST
mutual
message,
authentication?
we have any question?
Yeah. So what is a mutual authentication?
So whenever you check this box from the endpoint also, they'll have the authentication. So they'll take this profile's username and password and they'll build in their side. So both sides, it will be, the authentication will be done
Okay.
from both ends. So in the REST message, we have 4 types of HTTP methods. HTTP methods which are very important. Let me just open the default one, which is the get method. So get method will get a record from the third party. Okay, getting a record from the third party or getting the data from the third party. The next HTTP method is post. What does post do is it will insert the record or insert the data into the system, into the ServiceNow, into the ServiceNow. Sorry, this is outbound, so it will insert the record into the third party application. So as this is the outbound, post is like whenever you check this post method, whenever you create a record in your ServiceNow, it will do the same, insert the record into the third party application. And the next method is put. Put is for updating the record. So whenever I update the record in the ServiceNow, then it will update that same record in the third party application. And the next one is patch, which is so the partial update or partial insert. Suppose let's say here this put method does, it will take all the values and update the record. Patch, suppose you are updating only the short description, then it will update only the short description in the third party application. If you are updating some description, only that particular part is will get updated, which we call it as partial update or partial insert. And according to the terminology or system, if we are updating an existing record, okay, it will update the same. If we are inserting and you are updating the record which is not available in the third party application, then it will create the record and it will update. That is called patch. If it finds the existing record, then fine. If it didn't find any existing record, it will create the record and it will update. Okay, that is called as partial update or partial insert. And the last one is delete. So this delete is whenever you delete a record in your ServiceNow, in the third party also that data gets deleted. So these are the 5 types of HTTP methods in under REST. Up to this, is it clear? What are these and what are these methods? What does that do?
Yes.
Now let's do a quick example. Let's say for the post method or inserting a record. Post and the endpoint. Let me save this record. So here inherit from the parent. So this is our parent record. Here we gave the basic authentication. So it will take the basic authentication. And HTTP request, here you will be providing the headers and the query parameters. I'll explain what are these. So before that, we'll create a variable substitutions. So suppose, let's say we are writing the short description. And then let's say this is my test value. And we have caller test value. Now, if I just in under the content, so whatever variables you give here or whatever content which you write here must be same with the variable substitution. So under this content, it should always be in the JSON format. So let me just write the JSON format. So here, let's say short underscore description. Dollar. Why am I giving dollar is we don't know it should be dynamic. That's why we are giving this dollar. Auto generate variables. What does that do is it will generate these two variables over here, the caller ID and the short description. Now let me just test the connection. So if I click on test, it will give us, so this HTTP status 200, what does that mean is you can actually go ahead and insert a record. So whatever we do, it will create a record. Before that, in order to create a record or insert a record, what can be done? Can anyone tell, like, how do you insert a record with some values? In ServiceNow, in scripting, in order to insert a record, what we'll be doing, like updating some fields or anything like that. Which side of scripting we use? The backend database. Which side of scripting? Did you get my question?
Glide.
Server-side scripting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a glide?
Yeah, glide. Yeah, you're right. Glide system or glide record, what exactly we'll be using? And what the scripting location will be using in order to update something from the backend, insert something. Server side or client side? If it is server side, with scripting location. If it's client side, with scripting location.
Client scripting and business scripting.
So we have this glide system, glide record methods, right? So what does that do? We'll be writing a business rule and we can insert a record. So in the same way, so here they'll be giving our script here. If you see here, whole script is given. You need to just you need to just copy the script, preview script usage, and you have to just copy the script and go to your business rules. So what is in this business rules? Click new. Whenever a record is created in your ServiceNow, it should create a record in the third party. Okay. So what type of business rule is this? You just think this third party as different table. Okay. For
After
now,
business rule.
okay. After business rule is fine. Why can't we use async business rule?
Yeah, if these tables are not connected directly, then yeah, we can do that also. I think business rule.
So yeah, after business rule is right. But as we are in the integration part, the best practice is we need to use async business rule. Okay. So on the incident table, async. So we are writing on inserting a record. So inserting a record under the advanced, whatever code you have copied, just paste it here. And this commented thing, you can just remove the commented one. And here, if you see here, so short description value, current dot, short description. And current dot, caller ID. And then let's save this. Now I'll open this instance as well and keep everything ready to test. Open the list. So I have 50 incidents. So now I'll go and create incident. Hope so it should create a record. So let me just go here. Business rule. So here you can get the error messages and all. Start will be, you can check like that got executed or not. Response, get body, yeah, status code. So in this way we actually do, but I don't know why it didn't work. No problem. I have a documentation for this, like each step. I'll share you that as well. Let me just go and create another incident. Insert, okay. I don't know why this didn't get update, but usually whenever you write a business rule with async business rule and you just get that code here and few changes in this code, I guess. But this is how you'll be creating. I'll share you the documentation. So this is one unidirectional, which we have seen, but usually the integrations will be bidirectional, because whenever I update a record here, it should update the record over here. So suppose let's say this record got created and with the same details but the different incident name, here another record gets created. Once if you update this record from this instance, it should also update a record here. So in order to do such things, we have a common field for both records, which we call it as correlation ID. So using that correlation ID, it will update correlation ID. What does this contain is this correlation ID from this this page. I mean, from this instance, you'll get some sys ID kind of thing here. Sys ID. And then from that instance also, you'll get a sys ID. Both those IDs, we call it as correlation IDs. Whenever both are same, then you can update. Whenever you update record, that record gets updated. From there, if you update something, this will update. So both sides you have to create this REST message. The endpoint from that instance will be this instance URL 255416 URL, and basic authentication where you'll be providing the username and password. Again, from here where you have to create the new post message in order to insert a record. So we have different, we can create anything and do this. Is it clear up to this, the process? If the process is easy, I'll send you the documentation. You can try it out.
Yeah, process looks good, but what I have a doubt is like, what's the real life use case for this? Like here, third party means, is it ServiceNow or some other things? Or like already if we have an instance in real life, why would
Yeah.
we share these incidents with another instance? Like what is
Yes.
the real use case?
So the real-time use case is the Jira. So we have Jira integration, Slack integration, and Teams integration. So this Jira integration is like whenever you create an issue in the Jira, then it creates an incident over here, because the end users might be using the Jira. Okay, they'll be raising their issues over from their Jira instance. So those issues in our service now, we call them as incidents. Okay, whenever they create an issue in Jira, then incident gets created. Those both the communication will be like that. From here, service now from their Jira. Again, if they update their issue like with some other values, here our incident gets updated. So real-time integrations are Jira integration, Teams, Slack integration, and coming to the HRSD module, we have this Workday integration. So these are several integrations which we have with ServiceNow. These are the third-party applications.
Okay, so like then how does this business rules work? Because like business rules, we are creating that exact incidents with that we get, right? So like if it is Jira, like business rules doesn't work in Jira, right? It has some
Yeah,
other way to
yeah.
write
So
broad
for
description
this,
things.
yeah, I got your question. So for this, we have the flow designer, and under this flow designer, we can actually access some spokes. We call them as spokes. I'll just show them as well. Spokes. So these spokes are predefined plugins. So predefined code. So whenever you want to do the integration with Jira, then everything which is related to Jira will be a spoke. So we call that spoke as Jira spoke. Let me just show that as well. So in a flow designer, we'll be getting that spoke, which you can include a spoke and follow the process. So let me just go test Jira, build a flow. So here we see several other so integration hub. Oh, wait, let me go to the plugins and check. So in this plugins, if we have Jira plugin or like that. So we have this Jira spoke. Once we install this Jira spoke, whatever the connections or the functionalities in order to predefined things for Jira will be installed. So from there, we'll be creating a record. So flow designer is where you'll be, let me just open the flow designer once if I install this. So after installing it, we'll get a spoke. So from the spoke, you can use that spoke in your flow designer. So whenever a record is created in Jira, then it will get that update into the through the spoke. And from there, if you get the result, from there you can create an incident. So these are all these integrations. The third party applications are available as spokes in the ServiceNow. We call them as spokes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I'll share you these integration videos which you can perform, and in our weekday class or session, I'll be clarifying you any queries or questions of these integrations. So Jira and Slack is very easy, which you can actually do. I'll share those links as well in the group today. As an assignment, you can do this two integration, and the basic integration is ServiceNow to ServiceNow. That is the basic integration which you can perform.
And one more general doubt. So is
Yeah.
this integration same as like, for example, there's a use case like the client or the company wants all its table data. Like for example, there is a custom application or some incident table data into their Excel, their server Excel or something. So like, how do we do that? Like, do we do it in the same way, or how do we send it to their endpoint?
It's the same process. Like we'll be knowing what exactly the application, the third party application is. And we have, for all the application, we have the documentations which is provided by the ServiceNow. So through that, it will provide us the steps. We can follow those steps.
So
And
then,
also,
yeah.
and also for any integration, if someone shows you, so what you have to ask is what are the authentication types? What is the authentication method? Then you need to understand it is inbound or outbound. So if it is inbound, then you need to suggest them the REST API methods like get method, post method, patch, update, any of those methods. And you are, if the third party application integration or spokes are already present in ServiceNow store, then you need to suggest them with the integration hub. And if, as you said, they only have some kind of Excel which is in the server, then that needs to be transferred into the service now. Then it is called data source integration, where there are multiple data sources like Excel, JDBC, different SQL commands, and different kind of and also JSON file. So multiple data sources, you can upload them, and you can move that data into the custom table, and from there you need to write transform maps. I think we did import sets and transform maps, right? Once.
Yes,
Yes.
So we
yes.
need to do that.
Mm.
Even that is, even integration will be done in that way as well.
So then, like, what is this mid server thing? Like, I'm confused between all these. Like, in what
Yeah.
applications we will do this? Like, there are also mid servers, right, to post the data and
Yes.
other things.
Yeah. So if there is any application which is inside the network of the company, so basically mid server which gets data of all the servers or all the applications which are present inside the network, inside the company's network. So if you want to access one server to other server, like for example ping restart, server restart, or add some space to any device, any server, or create new servers. So if you want to do such kind of integrations or any kind of deployments, so internally, then we use mid server. And if there is no link between one application and another application, and it is also not part of your network, and if it is directly related to a URL, so like a third party URL or a different application, then you need other kind of authentication. So basically authentication type, that type is different. So for mid servers, you need to select mid server. If it is not mid server, either it could be a basic or OAuth.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Any other doubts? Yeah, I think first if you guys do those integrations manually in your PDI, you'll get more number of doubts. So based on that, we can discuss in our next class. So try those integrations. I kept Jira integration document in the in our WhatsApp, and rest of the documentation is also there. In directly you can search in the ServiceNow docs or in YouTube, you can find it. So just try hands-on, take 2 to 3 integrations and try to do them in this week. And if you guys struck somewhere or if you guys have any questions, yeah, feel free to ping me.